most important thing on your MBA is your connections. Yeah. I wound up in China because of my connections. I married my wife because of my MBA connections. I never would have gone to China. So I had that whole experience because I took the time to build connections with my MBA classmates. And at the time, China, I was saying it, China was growing really fast. And I reached out to a bunch of people in my class and said, "You're from China. I want to know more. Tell me more about it." And they were very flattered because they wanted, a lot of the local people weren't talking to them. So they wanted to build those relationships. And then when the MBA ended, they said, "Do you want to come to China?" I said, "Of course, I'll come and have a look." And then we made a deal. We shook hands that I would come and work with them for 1 year. And that wound up being several years, not several years of working with them, but I worked for them for a couple of years. But yeah, change your life. Yeah. Your network is the only value you get out of an MBA, or you just stay home and you read a textbook, get home. You know? Yeah.
So, Andrew, what do you feel are the struggles today entrepreneurs face as with AI progression? And the follow-up question towards that is, what are the struggles you faced when you started your business? Because you have a lot of success, but I personally believe a lot of success has a lot of back stories of failures, which push the person to perfect his failures towards success. That's what I believe in. So could you just run us through that?
Society has a problem with gauging success. So what is success, right? First of all, what is success? I believe failure is success if you learn from the failure. So I've had businesses, so we've spoken about businesses that have worked because it's logical to speak about the success stories, or what has worked, what has been financially beneficial, what has sent me to different parts of the world. What people don't talk about is the failures, and I've had plenty of business failures and relationship failures and lots of failure, but I learn from it. If you learn from it, it's a learning curve. I created a business in the UK where I opened up a golf tour company. I don't even like the game of golf. It was just that I don't mind it, but it was just, the Ryder Cup was coming to a certain area of Wales where I was living, and I knew the people that owned some of the resorts. So I thought it was logical to give hospitality, customer service, and create golf tours. So I was bringing over Americans to play golf in the UK. And that business had, 6% margins. And if you got it wrong a little bit, you would lose out on each one of these tours. And it was very labor intensive to do them. And you were 24 hours, people would call you and say, "Hey, I can't check into my hotel. Hey, I have a problem with the T booking." Like, it was very challenging. But I learned from that. Number one, I learned when to pull the plug on it. I sat down and I said, "Wait a minute, you're putting all this effort into this other business while your core business, which was training and development, was starting to struggle a little bit because you weren't paying attention to it." Entrepreneurs tend to take their eyes off the ball sometimes. They get excited by the shiny golden object and they say, "I'm going to chase this, I'm going to chase that." One of the worst things about being an entrepreneur is that sometimes it's the thrill of building your business. And once your business is running smooth, you want a new challenge. So you almost let the other one go. And I've fallen into that trap before, where I've taken my eyes off the successful project to try something new or try a new idea. And that can be a big issue. But then, know thyself. I know that that's the way I am. So my business now is starting to grow again. And I'm making sure to say, no, release new products. Do whatever it is that you can do to keep yourself excited and motivated and enjoying every minute of it. I mean, for instance, right now, I do a lot of the training myself. So when organizations call me, I used to outsource that. I mean, at one time in the UK, I had 22 trainers working for me. But I used to outsource a lot of the training, and now I stick to it. I do it myself because I love doing it. When you love doing what you're doing, you're not working, you're enjoying life. I mean, I teach at a university. A lot of my friends say to me, "Well, why do you do that? You're a business guy. Why do you do that?" Because I actually love, and it may sound like a cliche, and I hope it doesn't come across as phony, but I love helping other people, because helping other people, I enjoy. So therefore I'm helping myself. I find people that have the skills that I don't have. So I have a lot of those right brain skills that I mentioned earlier, the creativity, how am I going to market the product? How am I going to sell it? How am I going to make it specific to each individual? Where I lack is maybe on some of those left brain skills, maybe more managing projects, managing, and so I hire people who have the skills that I don't have. I don't hire people that are like me. I hire people that are the opposite of me so they can complement where my weaknesses are. And I got a lot of weaknesses. I have a couple of strengths that help grow the business, but I've got a lot of weaknesses. I fill those gaps. I find people. Today's entrepreneur needs to do the same thing. If they're not people, centric or able to deal with people, they need to find people who can to build their business. They need to find people that have the skills that they don't have. Why hire all the same people that have all the same skills? You're doing yourself a disservice. So today's entrepreneurs need to say, what are my strengths? Oh, well, I'm great at AI and I understand it. Okay. What are my weaknesses? I lack people skills. Okay. Either I'm going to work on improving those skills or I'm going to hire a great team that have those skills. And always hire people that are better than you. A lot of people will say, oh, I don't want to hire someone who's better. Hire someone who's better than you. What's the worst that can happen? They'll move on. Well, make the atmosphere in your organization so that they never want to leave you. Train them, develop them, nurture the relationship. And when it's time for them to go, it's time for them to go. You've done a great job. Bring in the next person. Train them up. Invest in them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Get the pieces that you're missing and get all the pieces together.
Get all the pieces together, yeah.
Andrew, if you want to give an advice to the future leaders in this AI-driven world, one piece of advice, what would that be?
Don't give up. We talked about entrepreneurship earlier in this discussion, and I find that, and when we took a little break there, we had a conversation on the side. We spoke of this idea that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's got a great idea. What I find is they have the great idea, like we spoke about earlier, they don't execute on the idea. Don't give up. If your goal is to run a podcast, don't think to yourself, well, I've got to have 1 million followers by next week or I'm not a success. It's a slow journey. It's a slow grind. Don't give up. If you got something, know when to pull the plug. Like if you're working on something for a year and it's going nowhere, maybe it's time to say, hey, reevaluate or maybe come up with a new idea. But what I find is that a lot of the people that are setting up, they either don't start at all. So they got a great idea and they just don't start at all. Because what you don't want to be is you don't want to be 80 years old. And people live those kind of lives now. You live until you're 80, you live till you're 100. You don't want to be looking at yourself. You don't want to be looking in the mirror and saying, I wish I started that podcast, or I wish I started that clothing brand or that restaurant, or, we're here once. It's a short life. We're here once. Why not try and chase your dreams and give it a shot? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You can always go back to a full-time job. Like, people are so caught up in, I've got to work for the company, the X or company Y, and I've got to be 9 to 5 and I've got to have structure. A lot of the MBA graduates in their 20s and their 30s, you got so much time. You got so much time to figure out what it is you want to do and to do it right and to enjoy the process. That would be the other piece of advice. Enjoy the process. Enjoy coming in and doing a webinar. Enjoy coming in and doing a webinar. Enjoy coming in and do a guest lecture. I do. I look forward to it. It's not like, oh no, I've got to do a podcast. Oh no, I've got to give a guest lecture. Lucky me, I get to do this and I love doing it. Find things you love, do them well, and get paid well for doing them. And you're onto a great recipe.
And the question, again, following on that.
Sure.
So it's something which came up on top of my head. Entrepreneurship with Gen Zs in today's generation has been highlighted like, hey, he's an entrepreneur. It's more fascinated. It's portrayed as a luxurious life. It's portrayed as this money pouring in, which is what's been portrayed now through internet, Instagram, anywhere you see social media. Entrepreneurship is fashion. I have this personally in me that it's not about you being an entrepreneur or you being an employee. It's about where you find yourself comfortable and where you find yourself happy and where you find yourself driven and more innovative when you have this continuous progression and you find everything right on place. So how would you say that, Andrew? Do you think entrepreneur has been overfascinated, or would you advise people to just go for something which makes you happy? What would your advice be as an entrepreneur?
Happiness is key. Happiness is key. When you think about it, you have this amazing opportunity. You have one life. You have an amazing opportunity, and entrepreneurship's not for everyone. There's a lot of people it's not for them. I don't have much time for these people that show you getting out of Bentleys and getting out of airplanes and these flashy guys on YouTube. Some of them are good. Some of them just make money by selling you of an idea that they're doing really well, and they're not necessarily doing well. There's been a couple of cases where it turns out they're renting these cars, they're renting these houses that they're showing you. They don't even own them. But I think that for me, success, Money is a byproduct of success. So if you're loving what you're doing and you're enjoying what you're doing, the money will follow. And we get so caught up in this world that money is like going to make you happy. I know plenty of people that have a ton of money and they're not happy because they're not enjoying their jobs, they're not enjoying their marriages, they're not enjoying, a lot of the things in their lives. And if you can, a lot of entrepreneurs are people that just have lifestyle businesses. They decide, I don't want to work for anyone else. I'm a good chef. I'm going to have a 14-seat restaurant, and every day I'm going to put on a great meal, and I'm going to make a lot of people happy, and I'm going to make enough money to pay my bills. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurship is. Sure, some people strike out and make incredible amounts of money, but most entrepreneurs are just getting by and enjoying being their own boss. And the workload can be immense, but if you love it, like I mentioned earlier, like we're going to finish this podcast. My day's not over. I'm going to go home. I'm going to have some food, spend some time with family, and then I'm going to do more work. You know what I mean? But I love doing it, so it's not work. I enjoy it. And you also need a supportive partner, because if you're in a relationship where the other person is saying, "Oh, you're working again," or "Oh, and that's just, it's going to cause friction. It's going to cause problems because you're working because you love it. And it's what makes you happy. So you need to find someone that's your partner that also is happy that you're happy, and maybe can spend some time working on their own things so that they keep themselves busy doing their own things, and then schedule time when you want to have time.
Absolutely.
But you got to have support. Entrepreneurship will fail. Your entrepreneurial journey will fail if you don't have the support of your family and your friends. And you have different types of friends. You have the friends that want you to succeed, that are your real friends, and you have all those other people that, look at him, he's doing well.
I got advice, a whole life advice right there. Also relationship advice. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
Now, soft skills. Now, we've spoken a lot about soft skills, Andrew.
Yeah.
So what will be that one soft skill which you think comes over everything in the next decade? One soft skill which is more important, one soft skill which makes it more powerful than the other soft skills in the next decade?
That's a tough question. I believe all 6 that I mentioned in the book are critical skills, but I'm a big believer in individual service. So creating legendary customer service, like how do you make people feel that differentiates you from the competition? How do you give that extra, attention, that attention to detail, that remembering of someone's name, that remembering of what someone, when I was tending bar, I couldn't always remember people's names, but I could remember what they drank. So I remember one being in a little village in the UK and seeing a car drive up. And when the car drove up, I knew it was a guy who loved having cider with a dash of, what's that purple, not grenadine.
Blue Crystal?
Not grenadine, no.
Blue
Cordial.
Cordial.
As he was coming up, I would have it so that right when he got to the stool, it was sitting there. Not a few seconds, but it was sitting there right on schedule. Once in a while, he'd pull my leg and he'd say, "Oh, I don't want that," even though he'd been drinking that every day for months. But it's that personal touch. I think the personal touch that AI can't do is where we're going to move to. We're going to move to a situation where customer service becomes, where organizations like Disney, the ones that really excel at creating amazing experiences for people. People are going to crave those experiences as we become more of a society that relies on automation and robotics and artificial intelligence, and that kind of that almost fake or lack of humanity in our transactions. People are going to crave personal customer service and attention.
There you go, guys. You have it. The one soft skill you needed: personal customer service and attention.
Creating legendary customer service, I call it.
Creating legendary customer service. After years in consulting, traveling around the world, managing your company, interacting with people from different parts of the world, different countries where they have different cultures, the cultural hierarchy, the gap, what would be the lesson that you've learned from leaders, entrepreneurs, and people that you've dealt with? What would be the lessons that you can help us get better?
I think good leaders and good entrepreneurs are storytellers. They lead by example, so they actually do the things they say they're going to do. So they have the ability to motivate people, to influence people. Again, some of these soft skills, to persuade, to influence, They have the ability to make you want to follow them, make you want to work for that brand. You look at some of the really powerful leaders. You look at your Richard Bransons, or these are people that you want to follow that person. You want to work at that company because of they lead by example. And I think good leaders, and there's examples from when I lived in China of great leaders of Chinese companies. There's examples like I gave of Richard Branson. There's examples and there's examples of political leaders that you look at and you say, well, wow, I'm really, that person speaks to me. That person is able to influence me. And I think that's a critical skill. Like, how are you influenced by these people? You want to follow them. You want to be part. And in a company, if you're running whether it be a small business or a big company, is how do you engage with your employees? How do you make them want to follow you, make them want to believe? Because you can't be there all the time. So when you're at home, they're out representing. I hire trainers to go and represent my business. If they don't believe in me and they don't believe in what they're doing, how are they going to offer an incredible product to the client? So it's can you are you the kind of leader that somebody wants to follow and somebody believes in? Are you a storyteller? Are you able to, I mean, good brands tell a story, and good leaders also tell a story. And I think that's really important. Can I influence you to buy into my ideas, follow it, and live it?
100% agreed. 100%. Great leaders are storytellers, and they persuade people to follow them, not just by saying it, but by also doing it. They do what they say.